Welcome to the Herd's official YouTube channel. Make sure to like and subscribe. Don't forget to check out the Colin Cowherd podcast, all of our NFL instant reactions, and more football content.
All right, this is going to be an insane college football weekend, and I'm reading the headlines this morning. Oregon going to Penn State. Can they withstand the whiteout against the Nittany Lions? USC's next three games, the key for Lincoln Riley and their playoff hopes. Ohio State, Washington. Can the Huskies slow down the Buckeyes? All you heard when Pac-12 teams, 4, joined the Big Ten was, they are soft. They will not be able to handle the physicality of the Big Ten. The weather out here is different. Oregon, first year in the conference, won the conference. So this weekend, it's not just a good game. It's a regional statement. It's a territory battle. The Ryder Cup is not the only geographical tete-a-tete this weekend, and I think it's great. I think the Big Ten needed some flash. West Coast teams are more creative. They have better quarterbacks. They're more inventive. They're generally a little more finesse. But I think the Big Ten was top-heavy and at times plodding. I do think the Pac-12, Oregon needed to get bigger up front. USC's felt like a finesse team for too many years. So I think, and Washington, whenever they have a good coach, is a really good team. So I think Buckeye fans will have their first vanilla cold brew this weekend in Seattle, and I think it's perfect. And I think USC fans are going to say, where's the champagne? Now, you don't have any. That's the name of the town, and it's all good. I like the mesh here. I always thought the Big Ten was top-heavy, and then it got slow, plodding, and needed some speed, some creativity. And I think the Big Ten needed these teams. It feels broader. It feels more clever, more creative. And I think, frankly, USC last year decided we got to get bigger up front. And they did need that. And now they are. So in a weird way, joining the Big Ten has made USC a better program. They're now a run-first program. They're not a pass-first team. And Jed Fish, the Huskies coach, they host the Buckeyes, said this weekend, joining the Big Ten has been really good for West Coast teams.
We could sell that we're going to be playing on the East Coast. We're going to be playing in the West Coast. We're going to be playing in the Midwest. There's so many different areas that we'll be able to attack, that people can watch them on TV. We can nationally recruit. We were in the national championship game 2 years ago. So people know who Washington is. They played Michigan on the big stage. We got to find a way to get back there to continue to reemphasize the type of program that we are.
And they were different sensibilities. I mean, Oregon's got 316 uniforms, 9 helmets, and Penn State's got exactly 1. But it's not like the West Coast didn't have, tradition. USC's uniforms, forget altering those. When it was suggested, drop the Notre Dame game, everybody freaked out. So, but the Big Ten, let's be honest about it. It's not the most creative. The quarterback play is kind of average for years. It's very top-heavy. It needed an infusion of creative. It needed some West Coast cool. And I think it's helped the conference. And I think when you play in the Big Ten, you got to be bigger up front, and it has forced Oregon and USC to just recruit bigger players who wear well in November. So I think it's really been an amazing mesh, in my opinion. Urban Meyer, big noon kickoff. He's at the USC-Illinois game tomorrow, and he is joining us now live. Okay, so let's just ask you. Anytime you go into a game with a young quarterback, into a hostile environment, a coaching staff generally thinks, all right, let's get him some early, easy completions. Let's not put him in weird environments. But that kind of plays into Washington's hand because Washington's going to come into this thing with big swings. They've got an NFL elite receiver, an unbelievable quarterback, a star running back. So I look at Washington. Their take is going to be, listen, we're not beating these guys without taking big swings. Right. Ohio State may do the opposite. Hey, let's bring it in. Let's slow it down. And that could get the crowd riled up. I mean, are you worried for Ohio State in this spot?
I'm worried about the early part of the game. And I would always tell teams going into that, the mindset is that is a prize fight. You're going to take some brutal shots early in the game just because the crowd, and you have to understand the hot spots. The hot spots are third downs. The hot spots are red zone and then punt and field goal. That's when the stadium becomes electric. But the best thing to slow down the stadium and calm down the stadium is a sustained drive. So I always tell our players, and I said this early in the Texas game for Arch Manning as well, get 2 first downs. That's your job as a quarterback. That way you automatically flip the field, and you can slow everything down a little bit. But they'd make a mistake to just come out guns blazing in this game, in my opinion. Let the game slow down a little bit. How do you do that? Sustain drives. And I don't think Washington's defense is that great, so I think they can come out of the game, a nice 10-play drive, crowd goes away in the second quarter.
I think Ibuka is such a great player. Now he's in the NFL. Last year, you had 2 elite receivers, 2 elite backs. I think your quarterback had more experience. Ohio State doesn't quite look like it quite has the offensive juice. Is that fair?
I think they're still coming along. Carnell Tate, I said, and that's the number 2 receiver for Ohio State. That's the biggest question mark because he's got all the skill set you need to be a high draft pick and to take some pressure off Jeremiah Smith. But Jeremiah Smith had the perfect scenario last year. He had a Mecca on the other side. He had 2 great running backs. Those are all gone. So it still remains to be seen because Texas, like I heard you say earlier, how good is Texas? And the last 3 games, to me, were just warm-up games. We're going to find out here in Seattle. All
right, let's talk USC and Illinois. You know, you and I talked years ago about this. USC got small, and then the NIL came, and I think joining the Big Ten, Lincoln Riley looked at his roster and said, okay, Michigan, Penn State, we have to go by size. And I got to tell you, Urban, their defensive front, for the first time since Pete Carroll, they got 5 or 6 guys that are big. Now, a couple of them are freshmen, but do they look different to you at least? Just physically look different?
Within 2 seconds after turning on the film, I actually called their line coach, Zach Hansen, I believe his name is. Yeah, and he's terrific, and he said that. He said they had a staff meeting, and the focus of recruiting went from obviously great skill that you still need that, but they realized against Penn State, Ohio State, the Wolverines, et cetera, you're going to get punched in the face. You better get big. This is the biggest and most NFL draft picks in the offensive line that they've had probably since the Pete Carroll era, like you just said, on the defensive side. So completely different looking team. And I want to add this. I was talking to Matt Liner about this. A physical offense line changes your program. How? Practice is different. The weight room's different. The way you approach the game's different. If you're a finesse team, your program becomes finesse. And obviously that gets you only so far.
For the record, you know, people look at Lincoln Riley and think, oh, he loves to pass. But if you go back to Oklahoma, they ran the ball all the time. I think when I've watched every snap of almost every snap this season at USC, I think they're a run-first team. What do you see?
There's no doubt. That's exact. And you're right about Lincoln Riley. He comes across as an air raid guy. He's not. I call him a spread coach. A spread option or a spread coach wants to pound the ball first, and that opens everything up. So Lincoln Riley, I'm telling you, this is a playoff-looking team to me. The other ones were not playoff-looking teams. They were fast teams that scored points. They were not a playoff team.
So Oregon's going to Penn State. So Oregon has not, Dante Moore, the quarterback, has played, Stanford, Arizona, San Diego State. He never played in a stadium like this. This thing is nuts. You played in this stadium. And Oregon's young. Are you concerned they get a little overwhelmed in this spot against the Nittany Lions?
Yeah, I've said Penn State overtook LSU to me as the number 1 most difficult place I've ever been in. That whiteout at night, it's choreographed. It's a must watch. It's something that you need to see this. And he has never been in this. You're right. And Coach Lanning called me this week and he heard me talk about Penn State. And as I grew as a coach, the thing you need to do is practice. And I mentioned it a second ago, is the stadium's not always loud. It's loud during third down. So what do? You practice that, or you come up with some kind of scheme. We would do tempo. That means you go real fast on third down and not let the crowd get into it. The other thing is red zone. What do? You go put those speakers right behind you in the red zone of practice so you're ready for it. And then the other one, we lost a game there in 2000, I think 15, I believe. And that was because we got a field goal blocked. And that's another hot spot. So again, third downs, red zone, field goal, and punt. Those are when the stadium becomes unglued. You better practice it.
Yeah. It's I was thinking about you this week. I thought Mike Gundy was a good coach, but he didn't pivot very well on NIL, and Dabo, similarly, I think is a very good coach. And I've said this before, Bobby Knight didn't want to do one and done. Krzyzewski initially didn't, then he embraced it, is that nothing ruins or punctures brilliance like rigidity and stubbornness. And I look at Dabo, and I watched them against Syracuse last week, and my only takeaway was they've got a few really high-end players, like defensively, but I don't know if they have the depth of athlete of Ohio State or Penn State, and they haven't gone into the transfer portal. And everybody thinks, Urban, if you go into the transfer portal, it's just to get 5-star guys. Sometimes it's to get another slot corner or a second tight end. I just didn't feel Clemson was talented, like LSU talented or Ohio State. What do you think their problem is?
So I talked to Dabo before the season, and he made a comment to me. This is a national championship caliber team. He felt there was depth. He felt he had a Heisman candidate at quarterback. It's still early. I got a feeling they're going to find a way to run off a bunch of wins in a kind of average ACC and then kind of get things organized. But, you mentioned Mike Gundy as well. I put those guys in the same category because, to me, Mike Gundy was untouchable. He is Oklahoma State. But Tulsa goes in there and beats him, all of a sudden that guy becomes touchable. So Dabo, I'm not ready to – that ship's not going to sink. First of all, Dabo Swinney's not going anywhere. I think Clemson comes back. Maybe it's not one of his best teams, but it's certainly good enough to at least compete for an ACC championship.
Finally, Urban Meyer, and I'll see him tomorrow on Big Noon Kickoff. I said I always thought the Big Ten was top-heavy, but it wasn't good enough at quarterback. It wasn't quite as fast as I'd like it. It needed a little spice. The jambalaya needed a little spice. I think Oregon, Washington, Jedfish, USC, it was a perfect mesh. It's forced the West Coast teams to get bigger and buy size, and it's made the Big Ten fast, creative, fun, better quarterbacks. I mean, I can't believe how well it's worked. Are you surprised by, listen, Oregon won the conference last year. I think Washington this year is going to be very dangerous. USC is back. Did you think it would work this well?
No, I thought the Pac-12 would kind of come into conference and get pushed around a little bit. That's not what happened. I think the Pac-12 teams, the four you mentioned, have elevated the Big Ten. Right now, I did something on Urban Analysis on the Big Ten Network that it's the best. There's 7 quarterbacks right now that I think are the best that in my lifetime. The depth of quarterback position in the Big Ten is better than it's ever been. The style of play. Now, the bottom of the Big Ten's bad. There's some really bad teams at the bottom. But I'm telling you what, this is very SEC looking. Back when the SEC, there's much more depth. You got Indiana. I think the Illinois team they got hammered a little bit. They're still a good football team. And this is with Wisconsin and Michigan State still going through a rebuild. Once those teams get back, if they do get back, I mean, the Big Ten Conference is, I think it's the #1 conference in college football.
Urban Meyer, Fox Sports College Football. Coach, I'll see you tomorrow.
Can't wait to see you, Colin.
All right, Urban Meyer.